Welcome to the new version of Equipping Leaders, a YouTube series that equips leaders to excel in their journey of self-development and continuous learning. My name is Natasha and I'm a leadership coach. Today, I am covering personal reviews, a tool that I use every year and have a very robust process for. My intention for this episode is to give you some tools for your own annual review so you can understand yourself more and learn how to relate to different areas of your life. Before we jump in, let's level set and explain a personal review. It's an opportunity to do focused reflection and assess how things have gone over the past year. Once you do this reflection and meaning making, you can easily reset or plan out new goals. Typically, a personal review is done once a year, and when you reset for that coming year, you set up check-ins. You select the time of year that is best for your own review. And some people follow the calendar or their business fiscal year or another significant event. I like to do my personal review at my birthday because then I can truly reflect and plan without the pressures of other things going on, like advertisements of a new year, new you, or a new fiscal year and all of the business goals that go along with that. There are 4 parts of a personal review: a structured reflection, a curated reflection, goal reflection, and then meaning making of all those reflections. And these are the 4 areas that I'm going to cover today. The personal review is mostly dedicated to reflection because it's an important part of development, and not just professional development, but personal development too. John Maxwell says that it's not experience that teaches us, but rather evaluated experience. Reflection lets you take a step back and evaluate a situation and your role in it. And that helps you find areas of strength and areas of improvement. If something turned out the way we wanted, we can evaluate the actions and mindset that helped its success. And if something turned out in a way that we were not expecting, we can also evaluate our mindset and how we could approach something similar in the future with a different and in a more productive way. Reflection is not the opportunity to self-bash or self-blame. It's very easy to fall into that when we're looking at things that happened that didn't go well or that we weren't expecting. A reflection is an honest look at the facts and then the emotions of what happened. When we understand how we approach different types of situations, it helps us show up more confidently and more authentically. Through consistent evaluation, I know I have learned that there are several situations and certain types of people that cause me to devolve into a fixed mindset. But knowing that about myself helps me notice it more quickly when it starts to happen and adjust so that I can be more active and listen well when I'm engaging with others, regardless of the situation. So let's start with structured reflection. And structured reflection is exactly that. It's structured. There are 4 areas that you consistently reflect on, and they're present in every annual review. So first we have our best accomplishments. And these are things that are quantifiable, they're completed, there was a definitive start and a definitive end and progress in between. You can pick any number that's valuable to you as long as it's 3. So you'll want to have anywhere between 3 and, let's say, 20 best accomplishments. This is important to start with because we can get into a place of reflection where we start to ask ourselves, like, what did I accomplish? And we can get very philosophical about it and discount a lot of things. So we identify these things up front so you have a strong foundation of things to point to as you move through the rest of the reflection. So next you have a reflection of best moments, and these are not necessarily quantifiable. These are times when you felt very calm within yourself or really showed up for yourself or had a lot of energy in the moment. The biggest difference between best accomplishments and best moments is that it is based on feeling more than quantifiable fact. So with best moments, you can list as many as you want, but once again, you want to have at least 3. You want to try to push yourself to have many more than 3 because the more you can think of, the deeper you have to dig. So coming up with more is actually a really good exercise. I set my own number at 10 because I can usually get to 5 or 6 pretty easily, but then I have to really reflect to come up with the rest. And so remember, this is about the act of reflecting. So make sure it's reasonably challenging so you can really get into that process. Now we move into a different aspect of reflection. This is not the opportunity to beat ourselves up or list our weaknesses, right? This isn't that self-blame or self-shaming exercise. It's valuable to know where we need to improve because it helps us look at mistakes and failures more productively. So this is why this area has you identifying no more than 5 most challenging situations. So we went from our best accomplishments, best moments, and now we're just looking through a little bit different lens of those most challenging situations. Your most challenging situations as you're thinking through this are times when you did not show up for yourself, or something happened that caused you to relive or recycle it through your mind over and over because you knew it could have gone better. And those things that could have made it better are actually within your control. But for whatever reason in that moment, it just wasn't. And again, no shame, no blame, just looking at what those different situations are. And then the last part of the structured reflection is a list of lessons. And these can be any lessons, internal or external, that you've learned over the past year. So this is another area where you want to challenge yourself to have a larger number. An easy way to do this could be, 22 lessons for 2022, or you could use your age, like 40 lessons in 40 years. Once again, those larger numbers help us dig deeper and really reflect. So with lessons, you want to have a minimum of 10. Curated reflection is our next part of the personal review. And this is the part that changes every year. You want to curate reflection questions from different sources. And the main thing here is that they are areas of reflection that either showed up for you a lot over the past year or areas that you want to explore further. Throughout the year, as I read books and listen to podcasts, I'll gather questions and topic areas. So when I go into my personal review, I have about 10 to 20 questions to reflect on. The curated reflection has been one of the biggest areas of growth for me because they are deep questions that I take a lot of time to reflect on and dive into. When there are areas that have shown up for me or that I'm interested in exploring further, it makes the reflection so much more robust. These also tend to be topics that are more challenging to grasp and quantify, like happiness, contentment, or bravery. When you set your goals at the beginning of the year, whenever that start is, it is important to also set metrics for how you'll measure that success, when you'll check in, and how you'll break it up over the year. But even if you don't do those things, no worries, it's still important to reflect on your goals. So this is part of what makes current and future goals successful, and that's the relationship that we have with them. Here we reflect on those goals, and we want to reflect on and explore 3 important questions. First, was the goal accomplished? Again, this is not about judging whether or not it was accomplished. This is a simple yes or no to get us started. There can be a lot of reasons why a goal did not cross the finish line, and you can get into that with the next question. This is just a realistic, did it happen or not, so you can dive into the reflection piece. So that next question is, what worked and what didn't work? This can be asked of both goals that were accomplished and those that were not. Even a goal that was completed likely had some things that did not work along the way. So you want to ask this question for each goal and really explore it. This will help you decide how to structure and measure your future goals. It's also a great way to determine if you're being realistic about your goals and getting them accomplished. I know for myself, there are certain times of the year when I can be the most productive and other times when I don't get much done because it's just a season of rest. But it was through using this question that really helped me understand when and why my goals ebb and flow and helps me plan better structure and check-ins for future goals. Finally, for each goal, you want to consider how your life was impacted by the goal. This reflection question helps us see how powerful our goals are and helps us see if we're setting the right goals. If you have a longer goal that stretches across a greater expanse of time, this question can also really help you see how far you've come. Finally, we are in the area of meaning making, which is basically an overall reflection of why this is important, how it makes your life different and hopefully better, and what you want to take with you into the future. Prior to this, you did an overall reflection of best accomplishments, best moments, biggest challenges, and lessons for the year, and then went into some curated reflection. Then you broke your goals down individually, and now we come to the place where we're bringing all of that back together. In psychology, meaning making is the process of how we construe, understand, and make sense of life's events, relationships, and ourselves. So look back at the reflection you've done up to this point and use some generative questions to jump into meaning making. So some examples of some generative questions are, what do you know so far? So like, what do I know about myself, about my relationship to my goals, about my relationship to my accomplishments, and how do I know that? What can I point to that makes me believe that? And you don't need to get super granular about this, right? Like, you're not presenting this in court. This is just for your own reflection. So what do I know? How do I know that? Another really good generative question is like, what patterns do you see? And have you seen those patterns in other places? I know when I recently did a reflection, a pattern that I was seeing over the past year is something that had cropped up for me maybe almost a decade ago. And I found that it was like some things around that didn't get accomplished. And it was because I was falling into this old way of being. And what I needed to really do was acknowledge that pattern and acknowledge all this progress and the different person that I was now. And that helped me really move through it. So when we're asking these generative questions, it helps us to look back at what we're doing and really see, like, where else have I seen this? What can I do to overcome this? So all in all, like, these generative questions really help you better understand yourself and why certain things are so valuable to you. Now we are at the end of the personal review. And so from here, you can set new goals, but this time with more understanding of yourself, your process, and your relationship to goals. I highly recommend doing this personal review at least once a year because it will help you better understand yourself and how you interact with the world. And that is something that will change over time. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I look forward to sharing more insights.